Most of the moms that I have worked with or that I know in my own personal life struggle with this one thing the most when thinking about leaving a narcissist, and that is, how can I leave the narcissist and break up my entire family? How will my children handle going back and forth between these two homes? And how will I protect them from this other controlling and manipulative parent? It's a very heavy load to have to worry about, but you can make life much more peaceful for your kids after leaving the narcissist. And I'm going to share some of the ways that you can do that today. Providing your children with a peaceful home at least 50% of the time is much better than the 0% that they are experiencing while you're still in this relationship. Imagine being a child and listening to your parents argue brutally, living through the aftermath of the silent treatments and walking on eggshells for days. Just when they start to feel somewhat peaceful and calm, it starts all over again. Another argument happens and they go through all those stages again, just like you do. And the thing about kids is they feel protective over one parent usually, and they're fearing the other parent. So it's very hard on them to live that way. And maybe possibly in your relationship, there's reactionary abuse going on where the narcissist is arguing with you and you are reacting by screaming or, acting out in your own ways, even physically at times, because you're trying to get the narcissist away from you or off of you. So that's hard for kids to watch as well. And now imagine that you're that same child, and while you're with this narcissistic parent for part of the time, you know that within the next couple of days, you are going to be able to go to a home that is 100% peaceful. Your body can relax, your stress hormones can decrease, you can actually feel like your true self. You feel loved and cherished at this home. Wouldn't that be much better than living in fear and stress every single day? I think so. In today's video, I'm going to share 5 ways that you can make life more peaceful after leaving the narcissist for your children. So here are some things that you can do to make life feel more peaceful for you and for your kids after you leave the narcissist. One thing you can do is create an environment that they will thrive in. So your home, this is number 1, your home should be a peaceful respite where they know they're going to go to that home and feel 100% peaceful. There's nobody acting abusively towards them. And think about it, when they're in the narcissistic home, drama, whether the narcissist is abusive to your children or not, there's still going to be drama and chaos because drama and chaos follows the narcissist. But without your presence, usually what happens is the narcissist chooses one or more of the children to focus his attention on, and they become that scapegoat because you're no longer around. And it's even more reason to make your home a peaceful place. Give your children a day or two to decompress, and then keep the rest of your time with them highly structured and routine. Kids love to know what to expect next. And I know this from my experience as an elementary teacher. I used to put up a schedule in the classroom I taught the younger kids, pre-K and kinder and first and second. But I always had a schedule, usually with times and pictures, and they knew what would come next. Even the 4-year-olds that I taught knew the whole routine, and I kept it very strict because I noticed that their behavior changed when they knew what would happen next. So to give an example, I was substitute teaching in a classroom this past spring, and it was for a long-term position. So the kids would ask me every day, somebody would ask me, what are we doing after PE? and they knew that we would go to stations, then they would do a writing activity, and then we would go to lunch. So I would say, what do you think is going to happen next, and they would recite the whole schedule to me. Okay, so first we're going to stations, then we're going to be doing writing, and then lunch, and I would say yes, and they would say, oh, yay, okay. So it made them feel comfortable and safe, knowing that they knew everything that was going to be happening throughout the day. And they could predict, like, okay, I know that if I do this work now, pretty soon it's going to be recess and that kind of thing. So kids flourish in routine. They love it. It gives them a sense of security. And it was always those days where, it was picture day or there was a program or something and our schedule would change, that they would get totally out of control and really hyper. So I learned that if there were going to be a change in the routine, I needed to tell them first, lay out the whole thing. This is what we're going to do. This is the behavior that I expect of you, and that kind of thing. So kids, again, they just flourish in routine. So you can make them feel safe by keeping your home full of routine. And narcissists hate routine. They want to stir things up and cause drama. So the kids may be expecting to go to baseball practice or dance lessons or whatever, and the narcissist will throw a wrench in that plan by not taking them to that thing. So with you, they can know what to expect. Okay, number 2. This is so important for everyone, but especially for children. They need you to see and hear them for their true, authentic self. So if you think about it, the narcissistic parent struggles with intimacy. They just don't know how to create that deeper connection with people. So, these parents try to control what their children say, control what they think, and control what they do. The children have no sense of autonomy. In your home, you can give them a chance to have independence. You can give them the say in different things that you're making choices about in your home. You can give them a place to be their true self. And, give your children the ability to come to you with any fears or celebrations. They should feel comfortable coming to you to talk to you about anything. That's the true hope. Because when they feel that comfortable, they're going to be happy in their home. They're going to feel more stable and more safe. You can do active listening. That's where, you're listening and you're repeating back to them what you heard them say. You can be non-judgmental. And, we know they get plenty of judgment in the other household. So we don't want to do that in our home. Okay, how has the narcissist affected your children so far? I would love to hear in the comments, because I know I'm listing some things here, but I'm sure I'm leaving off some things. There's so many different things that I saw in my own children's lives. Are they afraid to tell you things in front of them? That's one of the things I saw. Do they go to their room to avoid spending time in the family room or the family dynamic with this narcissistic person? Do they try to protect you from him, jump in during arguments and that type of thing? I'd love to hear your experience in the comments. Okay, number 3, do the work to heal yourself. That's something you can really do to help your children, because you can't create a safe space for your children if you haven't done the work to heal yourself. Of course, you'll never be perfect. None of us are. I think it's going to take years and years before we are even feeling as healed as we can be. We're never going to be perfect, though. You can model for your children what it looks like to take accountability for your actions, to make amends for things that you've done that have been hurtful, and to put time and energy into your self-care. So they should be seeing you putting your own self-care into your schedule. And that models for them, like, this is how grown-ups take care of themselves. Okay, number 4, don't talk bad about the narcissist. So, You know, when you talk bad about the other parent, it puts children in this awkward spot of feeling like if they don't agree with you, they're going to lose your affection, because that's exactly what a narcissist does. They expect their children to think the way they think. So, you know, deep down, the child may feel like they love the other parent, and you're forcing them to betray themselves. So the last thing we want to do is make children ignore their own intuition in favor of agreeing with you, with one parent or the other parent. You can be a guide for them in how to trust their own feelings. Before we finish this section, let me just mention that I do have a group program that is coming up. It's called Becoming Conscious. It's a 12-week program, and it's where, you know, there's modules that will help you move forward in your healing, whether you decide to stay or go. There's education about narcissism, ways to create your own boundaries, ways to work towards your life purpose, even with this difficult person in your life. And like I said, it's whether you decide to stay or go. So I'll leave the details in the description below, so be sure to check that out. Now, when your kids complain about the other parent, you can say something like, I understand how that must have made you feel hurt, or that would make me upset too. You know, just sympathize with them. And you can give them an example of how you may have handled a similar type situation, not with the narcissist, but with a different relationship, like maybe a coworker or something. You could say, that happened to me once with somebody I worked with, and the way I handled it was I would keep my feelings to myself because I knew that talking to this person would only make things worse, and I would talk to my best friend instead. And I just kept my emotions neutral whenever I was around this coworker. I tried to avoid them as much as possible. So tell them how you handled the situation, and you can even make something up, you know, like maybe a situation that you had with the narcissistic partner, but change it to maybe it was a friend or something, because again, you don't want to make your kids feel like you have all this hatred towards their other parent, because that makes kids feel bad about themselves because they are part of that other parent. So, you know, we don't want to make them feel like we have any animosity towards them as our child. So number 5 is, you know, I just said don't talk bad about the narcissist, but you could tell them general facts about why you split from this person. So this one comes from my children, who are all 17 and older. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. You're gonna have to use this carefully depending on the age of your own children. But they all told me that they wished I had told them more about why I split from their parent, because I was always in the camp of, you know, they'll figure it out on their own. But what happened was a huge divide in our family that was hurting all of the kids. And the reason was that, you know, my older 3 have a different father from my first marriage. And then my youngest one was from my second marriage. So my oldest 3 really struggled with my second husband and their relationship with him. And my youngest daughter took a lot of that on as a problem with her. Like, they didn't want to be around her, when really it was that they didn't want to be around their stepfather. So it took a, you know, long conversation between all of us, sharing our experiences and a lot of tears, but we all were able to come together as a family, and they all agreed that yes, they wish I had told them a little bit more, because not knowing hurt them worse. So, you know, you're gonna have to kind of think about that on your own, and look at your own situation, what is healthy for your kids to know and what is not healthy for them to know. I wouldn't tell every single detail, but of course, there are some things that they do need to know. Like my youngest daughter needed to know that my ex treated the older kids in a different way, because she only saw the way he treated her, which was kind of like his golden child. So most importantly, make sure that your kids know that their relationship ending doesn't have anything to do with them. It's not their fault. Nothing they could do would have changed things, because abusive people affect all the relationships within a family system, including between siblings. Okay, and what if you can't leave yet? So you may not be able to leave, you may not be ready for many different reasons. It could be financial reasons, or you don't have a place to go, and there's so many reasons that women struggle to leave. But even if you can't go, you can make your children's lives more peaceful by doing some of these things that I talked about, but also some of the things I talked about in my video from last week. I will link that one in the description below. And that one, how to boost your self-esteem even in a narcissistic relationship. So some of those things that you will do for yourself, you can also do to help your children. So even if you can't leave, make your days more peaceful by doing things like decluttering your space so that it feels less chaotic, prioritize sleep, eat more nourishing foods, give your children these same things, create routine as much as possible, model self-care for your kids, try not to engage in arguments with the narcissistic parent. And children, I'm just going to close with this. Children thrive in emotional safety. So you don't have to be perfect to create a peaceful life for your kids, but children will bloom when you give them opportunities to feel emotionally safe. Give kids the ability to help you create this peaceful environment. They love to be a part of creating, like, what can we do to make your bedroom more peaceful? What bedding would you like? What artwork would you like? And that kind of thing. The most important thing you can do for your children is to be present, to take the time to heal yourself, and let your children feel free to be themselves while they are with you. I know there's so many more fears that I probably haven't listed today. What is the worst thing you worry your children will face after you leave the narcissist? Leave it in the comments below and let's carry on the discussion there. And if you stayed to the end, thank you for watching, and let me know any subjects about narcissism that you would like to cover in the future, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.